A wise man once said, if you're getting ready to do a podcast with somebody, you should send them the questions ahead of time.
Correct. You have broken that rule.
You did not send me my questions ahead of time.
No, sir.
We're just doing this off the cuff. I think I'm good at improvising.
That's because you're a pro.
We're going to make this up as we go.
When you do it with newbies, you have to prep them forever.
Yeah.
You're good though.
I still probably need some prep. Welcome to our very first episode of Podcasting Together. My name's Boo. This is Tony. I don't know what we're going to call this yet, but we just felt the need to get on the mic and start chatting a little bit.
We're just going to spit it.
We're just going to go.
We'll have a title, a thumbnail. We'll get all that
It'll look good. It'll look good.
Yeah.
It'll come to fruition, but I like to put the cart in front of the horse.
Of course.
I know they say you're not supposed to do that in this industry, but I'm a big cart before the horse guy.
That's kind of how we roll here, though.
The horse will come along.
I think we're going to talk about it.
The horse will come along.
I found that to be a successful formula. When you do things that way, things tend to work out.
Yeah, I think there's too many people that spend too much time planning and never executing. Let's execute and then make a plan.
Right.
So the plan is for this to be a reoccurring thing. The plan is for us to have specific topics that we think that agents that are going to be transacting in the future have in their bag, right? Have skills, the knowledge, the mindset, everything that they need to have in order to be successful in the coming marketplace. Because I think it is going to change dramatically starting this week, right? This is going to be one of those weeks that we can look back on and say that was one of those weeks where everything changed.
And there's already a ton of confusion.
Yeah.
I mean, we're seeing it externally, we're seeing it internally, and that's just normal with change of how does this work now?
Yeah.
And
what does this look like?
Of course. And so I firmly believe with all this NAR stuff, all it is, it's just an extra skill set of communication. You just have to know how to explain certain things, tell the truth, break it down effectively. What actually happened? Who's paying? When are they paying? When is it negotiated? Once agents can get that skill set, they'll be fine. But if nobody gives them the skill set, then they're just going to be stuck in the dark trying to do things the same old way, trying to convince sellers to pay a certain amount, trying to get into conversations and into weeds that I don't think they need to get into.
Yeah, and I don't even think that they understand the weeds that they're getting themselves into. But I think our opinion since the beginning when we heard about this lawsuit taking place is, hey, if this is going to come back to a skill-based setup, we feel very, very confident. I think that both of us, I think the Perry Group in general has always been founded on and will continue to thrive in the fact that we are a skill-based team. We are a team that is adamant on skill development for new agents. We are a team that is adamant on skill development for our experienced agents that are doing 40 and 50 transactions a year. And so does this change anything? Yes, it changes the skills that we are training on, but it doesn't change the fact that in our opinion, this is a skill-based issue. And if you have those skills, this won't be an issue.
You need it. And I always use sports analogies. I mean, I've talked about TPG being Real Madrid. I'm a sports junkie, so I'm always going to use sports analogies. But how good of a player are you? That's always my question. Are you a good player? And in the same way that if you're on a football team or a basketball player, you go out and you do drills and you work certain skill sets and you got to work on your shooting and you got to work on your footwork and you got to work on your defense. There are skills. There's a list of skills that you come in and you work on every single day to make you a good player. I think what a lot of agents are missing is they don't know what those skills are, either because they're not taught. Well, in most cases, because they're not taught. The brokers don't say these are the 9 things, just like a basketball player, that you need to work on based on your position, based on your experience, your production level, like the skill sets. There is a list of skill sets. And I think part of this podcast will be to try to conceptualize those properly and deliver them in a way that is digestible so that the agent can say, oh, okay, these are the 4 things, these are the 4 skills that I need to come in and drill every single day to be a better player.
Yeah, so let's talk, because I think that this is going to be interesting. This is going to be an interesting episode to look back on. Obviously, it's our first one doing this together. It's going to be very interesting, though, to look back a year from now and see what has changed. So let's give some context to what the first 8 months in this office have looked like, because you joined right at the same time I did. End of December, right as we were getting ready to open up this new Utah County office. To me, we are exactly where I thought we would be, but I would love to hear your input and your insight because you've been in the resale world for longer than I have. What has your impression been of our first 8 months collectively as a team here in Utah County?
So here's what I'll say. I've basically seen it all. In real estate, I started as a showing agent on a very small team. I became a broker. We had like 13, 14 agents. Then I went solo. Then I opened my own agency. I did the whole I want to be the man thing. Now I'm here. So I've seen a little bit of everything. What I will say makes this setup unique is that, like you said, it's all about the skill set. And I believe this firmly. When you have good players on your team, your team will score points. You will win games. And so what I've been surprised is that an office that is that young, being able to
We're young. What would you say our average age is in this office currently?
35?
I would say it's younger than that.
Probably.
Like
32?
our youngest agent is 20. Yeah, I think our oldest agent is
50?
older than that. We're not supposed to specify. I'm not trying to get sued, not putting that on camera. But like I think our average agent is probably close to my age, which is 31.
And that's why for a lot of individuals out there, it doesn't make sense. That's why people say, oh, that's just a frat house. That's why they say, oh, these are just a bunch of kids just making Instagram reels. But then you peel the curtain back and you look at the numbers, and there's some real numbers there. And so when I say young, I mean young, yes, in terms of age with the demographic that's in the building. But also, I mean, we've only been here for 8 months. And the level of talent that we've been able to attract has been probably one of the most surprising things. I mean, we have agents here that have been in the business for decades, and more are coming, that want to be a part of this. And I think that's a combination of two things. The leadership skill set, I think you are phenomenal at giving people guidance, but not micromanaging everybody. And also the culture. The fact that you have mandatory office hours, I think is brilliant, because it establishes up front that foundational skill set that you got to come to work, bro. If you work at Target, you got to show up.
Yeah, if you're not willing to put 20 hours a week into your craft, you are going to hate me within being here of 30 days. So let's just part way now as friends. Like I think it has been an incredible deterrent, right? I mean, I've had 10 interviews in the last 7 days. Right. And I would say the biggest deciding factor that most people decide on whether or not they are willing to join the team is that office hour requirement. And I'll be honest with all of you, and I hope Michael doesn't yell at me for putting this out on tape. I haven't checked the roster once, right? Meaning I haven't checked to see who's in here daily and who's not. I have no idea how many days people are actually in here, other than the fact that I am in here every day with people. So I know if you're in here or not. And it's been very interesting to see those agents that were not producing at other brokerages come in, they put the time in, they put the training in, they put the skill management in, and they are producing at a high level really, really quickly when they weren't at their other place for 2 or 3 years.
They weren't. And it's because that structure didn't exist. And it's not even the agent's fault. I mean, I experienced something similar. I wouldn't go into the office. I knew I had a team meeting on a Tuesday, and then there was a training on a Thursday. I'd show up for that, and then I would leave. Like there wasn't anything else. So I think the fact that we want agents to be here and they show up, like you said, you don't need to take roll every single day. You walk in and it's full. Like
I know who's here and I know who's not.
Like you can just tell. And so again, that's a combination of agents that understand that in order to transact, you need to put in the work, but also that they want to be here. They want to talk to each other. They want to be a part of the meetings. Our trainings are full and you don't even make them mandatory. So if you do things right, you don't have to handcuff people. You don't have to set stupid rules. People will just show up if you do it properly.
Well, it's been so fascinating to me too, because the fascinating part has been during those interviews, every single agent that comes in is making a comment on the feel of the office, right? They can't even quantify it. They can't even say this is what feels different. They just comment that the energy feels different in here. And I think it's because there are actual bodies in here. There are people that are not just in here for the sake of filling up a seat, right? That was one of the other requirements that I was adamant on when the Perrys approached me about opening this office. I'm not doing part-time. I don't like, if you have another job at Target, I get it. This is a tough industry to break into, and a lot of people have to do the part-time gig getting into it. I'm not just trying to fill seats. I'm looking for 50 to 60 people that are trying to be elite level at this, not 50 to 60 people with 10 of them doing 80% of the volume. And I think that has been, when people come in and they're trying to quantify what they're feeling, I think that's what it is everybody is in here with one unified goal, one unified mission, and that is to perfect their craft and to do more than 4 transactions, which is the industry average.
And what I find interesting is that in a lot of places, if you put people's stats on the wall, like that screen right there, that makes a lot of people insecure. When you're sitting there, when you're naked, people can see your numbers and they can see what you produced. In this case with Zillow, what's your conversion rate? How many connections do you have? A lot of people don't like that. A lot of people don't like to see a Slack channel where there's an automatic bot that says under contract, under contract, under contract, under contract, under contract 10 times a day, and I don't have anything. That makes a lot of people feel insecure. I love that in this building, it's the complete opposite.
Yeah, I think it incentivizes and motivates.
People see that as a motivator, not as a detractor, because I've been a part of a lot of circles where that would not be tolerated because people it just causes too much insecurity for people to actually pull back the curtain and see your numbers when you claim to be a hot shot on social media.
Well, and I think that this is what goes back to one of my other non-negotiables. I don't do gatekeeping. I don't do secrets. I don't do, hey, sorry, that's kind of proprietary to my business. I don't care how many you're producing for the team. If I ever had an agent come into my office and be like, boo, I approached Tony to ask him what he's doing on local radio, and he told me, hey, sorry, that's my space. I need you to stay out of it. I would ask you to leave, right? Because we are not doing that. I have been in this for 11 years at this point, and in my experience, you never hurt yourself by giving back to somebody else. It only expands what you're capable of, and oftentimes for me, when I've had agents come up and be like, hey, how are you doing this specific thing? Some of it was just stuff that I was doing instinctually, and I hadn't even quantified what I was actually doing, and it helped me to understand, like, oh, I had never actually put any thought to this. That is really, really helpful for me to actually go through this and break down what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. And then usually I see inefficiencies that I could be working on when they're like, hey, what about this?
And I think the thing is realizing we didn't invent it, bro.
There's no unique ideas in here. There's no unique ideas in here.
I didn't invent local radio. We didn't invent podcasting. We didn't invent any of this. And so a lot of times what happens is the leadership has this ego that they actually believe that they invented something. Yeah. You did not.
You didn't invent a talk track. Somewhere. You didn't invent anything.
So it's like you're gatekeeping something that doesn't belong to you. You're not the first person to market in a certain way. We're not the first people to do Instagram Reels or local radio. Whatever it is, somebody's already done it. So I think the absence of that ego, the absence of need to feel like I own a certain process, I think is what allows us to grow, because we can take from everywhere else we've done. We started just doing Reels, then we got into live streams, and then we got into YouTube. Like, it continues to progress because we know that we don't own any specific strategy, and we're willing to just give it away for free.
Well, yeah. So talk to me about that, because I think, like I said, you're a lot more seasoned. You've been in a lot more different brokerages than I have. I think if you walk into different teams and different brokerages, you'll have a couple of agents that are focusing on social media. This is one of those hills that I am absolutely willing to sell my business on. To me, this is the prospecting method of the future. It's already working today, and it's going to work even better in the years to come. What has been your opinion so far on our approach to social media from a team perspective, not just an individual perspective?
So I told you this when I joined. I think it's counterintuitive. I think
we argued about this for a couple of minutes. Yeah.
Coming from brokerland, when you have a team like the Perry Group that is investing that much money in leads, which it's a ton of money,
$250,000 a month,
ridiculous. It doesn't make sense, or it shouldn't make sense, for then Boo to go out and spend time training agents to get SOI deals on social media.
I don't train on Zillow. I think that's like one of the most confusing things to people when they come in.
That doesn't make sense.
I don't spend any time. We have a Zillow expert in Chris Durock. I don't feel the need. I started to at the very beginning, and then I looked around and I was like, this is not what my skill set is. This is not where my area of expertise is. Let's let the professionals do this. And I am going to focus, especially with how our splits are set up, right? We run a unique tiered system where you get paid more on your SOI than you do on Zillow. My personal goal as team lead is to help you make the most amount of money on this team as possible.
And that's what becomes counterintuitive, because from a business perspective, with no emotion, you say, okay, for the business, it is in the business's best interest for every agent here to be a Zillow killer, to only do Zillow.
To be a cog in the Zillow wheel.
Only do Zillow. Why? Because the team makes more money on those splits from those deals. It doesn't make sense to then go out and train agents to farm their SOI, get SOI deals, get the skills. Why? Because then the risk is that they leave. And when they leave, now you have to replace them, and that's very expensive.
Well, so I mean, for some people, I think it's expensive.
And I think that agents will stay.
So running at our attrition rate, currently we've added 45 agents this year. We've lost 2. Why do you think that is? Because originally, right, your argument was that this is going to be counterintuitive. To me, the way that the team makes more money is 2 reasons. Number one, I will get my agents into production quicker so that there's less of a lag time. They can start being profitable to the team, which allows us to reinvest more back into the team. I can get them into production quicker, but then number 2, I can get them into production for longer, and longer sustainability leads to more profitability on the team. We are seeing less turnover in this office than I think what the industry average of 15 to 20% would show. I'm curious what your thoughts are on why people are joining and not leaving.
I think it's because you're prioritizing the agent. Like, that is what's better for the agent. And here I have to throw flowers at the Perrys that they allow you to do that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure on that one. I'll be honest with you. Yeah.
Because I come from broker land, you guys. Most brokers, they would see what you're doing as a waste of time. I need you to allocate your resources to increase our production from our leads that we're buying, because that's how we make money. So I have to throw flowers to the Perrys for allowing you to do that and prioritize the agent. Because at the end of the day, it's best for the agent to develop the skills, to develop their SOI, everything that you're training them to do, it's in their best interest, and I think that they understand that. So when you combine, I'm going to show you how to produce on your own, yet at the same time, I have the most powerful team-generated lead machine
in the state,
the country, probably number one Zillow account in the world. It's tough. It's tough to leave that, and I think the agents that do leave, it's because, and again, I felt this. You get to a place where you feel like you can do it by yourself, and you feel like you can do it by yourself because you're not aware of what happens on the back end.
Well, I think this is the beautiful model about Real. This is part of why I wanted to join, because I had the understanding going into this, attrition is always going to exist in this business. What I think is really, really cool is that if you come into the Perry Group, you're here with us for 3 or 4 years, and then you get that feeling to go out and do it on your own. As long as you stay within the brokerage, not only do you have my blessing, you have my support. I will show you everything that we are doing to help run a team, because I am incentivized to help you go and grow your business model.
And there have been agents that have done that. They've left and they've come back. Why? Because that's the way the business is supposed to be done. Can you try and build a monster on your own? Sure, you absolutely can go be an entrepreneur, but it's not that simple. It's
not just as easy as putting up a sign that says the Boomatics team and again, running it.
You can choose to play for Real Madrid, or you can go try to start your own club. I choose to play for Real Madrid.
Every day.
Every day.
Yeah. So it'll be very interesting to see. I think that's great context. For numbers context, we're at, I think, 185 contracts so far this month, either closed or pending in this year, wow. in these 8 months. Yeah. 185 contracts, $2.5 million paid out in commissions to our agents, which is, I love to see it. I want to see that number get as big as possible, because I think that's where people will stay longer, is when you can actually pay out $2.5 million worth of commissions in 9 months. We have a bunch of brand new agents that were not in the industry last year that are on pace for somewhere between 15 and 20 transactions. We have agents that joined that were doing 5 to 10 deals a year at their previous brokerage that are now on pace for 25 to 30 transactions. Like, I do think that this is what we're building here is special, and I think it's going to leave a mark on Utah County going forward. And my goal is not to get every single agent in here, but if we can up the level that Utah County is operating at, the skill base, if we can help up that, because other brokerages are going to have to change and tweak and adapt in order to keep up with us, all the better for it.
And the other thing that I'll close on is the veterans in the room also are selling more expensive homes than they ever had. Now, does the market have a little bit to do with that? Sure. But there are agents that are veterans that have never sold anything over $800,000 that are putting $2 million properties under contract. The most
within a month of joining the team.
Quickly.
Yeah.
In the 4 years that I was solo, I only sold one property over $1 million. I'm gonna have 6 listings over $1 million at one time.
Within 8 months of joining the team.
And that's not just me. Like I can't take all the credit for that. It's where you play. And that's the thing. When you play for a good club and you have the resources of the club and the facility of the club and the coaches of the club and the medical staff of the club, you're a better player. And I think that's what we have here.
Well, stick around. This is episode 1. Give us one last closing conversation piece here. We talk a lot about what we think that the future agent is going to need to be able to transact at a high level. I think a big portion of it is mindset. I think you have to get out of the mindset that 4 transactions in a year is a lot. I think if you are trying to compete, especially on the buyer side now, it used to be easier. Now it's going to be more skillful. We're not going to say more difficult. We're going to say it's going to need more skills than it has in the last 100 and something years. What are 3 or 4 skills that you think every new agent that's thinking about getting into the business or is currently in the business and not producing where they want to be, what are those 3 or 4 skills that you think that they need to be focusing on today? Communication, public speaking, stress management, and time blocking. Negotiations? I think if you're a great communicator, you can negotiate. Fair. But if you buckle under pressure, you're not going to do very well. If you learn how to have someone yelling at you on the other side of the phone and you can have a productive conversation, you'll crush it. If you can be a good public speaker, be able to do this thing in front of people,
you'll crush it. This is going to become a business for expert communicators that also have a real estate skill set on the back end. But I think that communication piece is going to be critical.
Amen and amen. Appreciate you.